friends, this is Eric the Mind Control Guy. A little bit ago, I was listening to a video by Jericho Green. He's a black fella out of California. And he was talking about, this woke culture, cancel culture, the pacifier culture is, I think, what they should be called. And he was talking about one of the latest things they're doing is because of, video and YouTube and the internet, going back, 20, 30, 40 years and finding something somebody said, whether they're a radio personality, an entertainer, celebrity, politician, whatever, and they're just whining and crying about, well, you said this, cancel you, destroy someone's career because you said a word. Whoop-de-freaking do. Comedians, they have a lot of leeway, a lot more leeway than a lot of people do. And, radio personalities, sometimes they get in trouble. Some have lost their careers or they lost their job simply because they said a word. Because they didn't have the right skin tone to be qualified to say that word or that phrase or whatever. When you can turn on some of these channels and it might be every other word you hear, but certain people are qualified to say the word, certain words morning, noon, and night, and it's okay. Anyway, Jericho was talking about these people that go back all these years and finding these clips and they're crying in their diapers about it, basically. The woke culture, cancel culture, pacifier culture. And he was just going on and on and on about it. Jericho can be very, very colorful in his commentary. And he had mentioned Howard Stern. Well, I got to thinking, I remember back in the 90s when I very first heard of Howard Stern. I didn't even know who Howard Stern was. Then in 1991, when they had the Rodney King incident, and we had that, jammed down our ass for at least a couple years. And the TV reporters' commentary was saying, shock jock Howard Stern is making waves because what he was saying about the Rodney King thing. I said, who the hell's Howard Stern? Well, I never did hear what Howard Stern said about the whole Rodney King thing. But I guess some folks were pretty uptight about it. Now, Howard Stern, I'm not sure if he's really toned down that much, but I know back in the day, 30 years ago, Howard Stern didn't pull no punches. He said anything about anybody, anytime, any place. And Howard Stern is known for being very, very wrong. Very wrong. I remember I was listening one time, sometimes out here on the road, this was years before satellite radio, and sometimes you couldn't get in the station. You couldn't get in the station. The station ended. You couldn't listen. And so stations would fade in and out and try to get something else. Well, I remember one day I couldn't get anything else in, so Howard Stern, okay, I'll listen to him, keep me awake. Well, that particular day, actress Julia Roberts happened to be in the area because it was Howard Stern shows in New York, and you'll come by the studio, say hi. Okay, hi, how's everybody doing? Well, like I say, Howard Stern doesn't pull no punches, and he don't care, who he rubs the wrong way. But I just couldn't even fathom saying this to anybody. And you have somebody who was a well-known actress like Julia Roberts, and she was telling everybody hi, and they're starting to talk and everything, and she was in the middle of a sentence, and he interrupted her, and he asked her, I just got to ask you, do you do anal? stuff. But it reminded me things about Howard Stern, and that was one of them. One of the other things that it reminded me of was I was in Columbus, Ohio. This was back in probably 1996, I think is when it was. And I couldn't get anything else in, so I said, well, I'll listen to Howard Stern until it gets a little too raw for me, and then I'm going to turn them off. And anyway, he used to have a cast of characters, and they gave them all, a lot of them gave them all nicknames. And the one guy was on there, he was like neon gay, and they called him Gay Rich. Another guy who had actual mental problems, and the nickname they gave him on the show, they called him Gary the Retard. Well, I said, well, that's not a very nice thing to say, and in this day and age, no way you'd be able to get away with that. Back then, 30 years ago, it was a little bit different. Close to 30 years ago. And then he had Danny Carver on there. Now, Danny Carver was a big wig in the Georgia KKK down there. He'd have him on the show. And so they had all these different characters. They had strippers that would come and go and whatnot. And I happened to be listening this day when this happened. And, of course, Danny Carver being on there, they always had, gang up on him. Okay. And one of the guys asked him, he said, Danny, Mayberry RFD. Well, for those of you that don't know, over 50-something years ago, there was a TV show on, Mayberry RFD, and then they had the Andy Griffith show, which where Ron Howard got his start. He's a big-wig director in Hollywood now, but that's where he got his start. And anyway, so Andy Griffith, he portrayed this sheriff, Andy Taylor, called the Sheriff Without a Gun. And that's where, of course, Don Knotts, Barney Fife, that's where that character comes from. But anyway, so they asked him, they said, Danny, Mayberry RFD, is it true the sheriff, Andy Taylor, he didn't carry a gun? Now, as far as I know, he didn't carry a gun. Oh, okay. So they left him alone for a few minutes, talked about other things, then they came back and they said, Danny, Mayberry RFD, do they have any blacks in Mayberry RFD? He said, no, as far as I know, they didn't have any blacks. That's why the sheriff didn't need a gun. I'm going, oh my God. Well, the whole studio there, they just erupted. And you hear one guy said, you son of a bitch, you knew he was going to say that. You can hear one guy, smack the other guy. And I'm like, good God. I couldn't imagine if that were said today, somebody would probably be out of a career. But people listening to it that day were people just laughing. One of the things Jericho was talking about was, way back when, people still had grit, people had mustard. It's like everybody got made fun of. You didn't like it, too bad. Turn it off, don't listen. But the crybaby, the pacifier culture, which today they call the woke and cancel culture, they want to take your livelihood from you. They want everybody and their brother to attack you just because they don't like you. Back to Howard Stern, me and another driver was talking stories one time about things we had heard on different radio shows, and Howard Stern came up. And I told him that story that I just got done telling you all. And the guy said, yeah, I remember I was listening one time on Howard Stern, and he had this neon gay dude on there. And they said Howard Stern's opening line to this gay guy who was a guest on the show, he said, so you like it in the ass, huh? Oh, man. I couldn't even imagine, what the atmosphere must have been in the studio. Was this guy mortified? come back to something like that when a guy goes, say like it in the ass, huh? I mean, oh, but you know, the difference between, you know, entertainers and comedians and politicians, people back then, you know, had grit. And, you know, the crybaby culture of today, I mean, you're watching every syllable you say because it can very well cost your career. Well, now they're going back 20, 30, 40 years. During the O.J. Simpson trial, one of the detectives on there, one of the first detectives on the scene was a detective, now retired, named Mark Furman. And Mark Furman found this glove. There's a famous picture of him pointing to this glove, looked like a bloody glove. And they said, well, that's one of O.J. Simpson's, we think that could be one of O.J. Simpson's gloves. After all this investigation and stuff is going on, because O.J. Simpson, at that time, retired football player, but still, you know, sports commentator for football. He was seen when he was doing an interview or a, you know, commentary when he had those gloves on, and all of a sudden there's that glove with blood on it. And of course, as the trial went on, when Johnny Cochran, his defense lawyer, one of them, had him put the gloves on, and that's where the famous line came in, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, Detective Furman apparently was, I'm not sure if he was actually in a play or if he was doing a voiceover or what it was, but there was some play that he was doing at one time, and he was reading the script from the play. And apparently this one line that, you know, the people wouldn't shut up about, they try to say, oh, he's this evil racist guy and everything, because one of the lines in the script of the play, it said, I am the dragon, I am the hood. People might say, what the hell's that mean? Well, that group, the KKK, one of the ranks in there is, they call it Grand Dragon, which Danny Carver, who was on the Howard Stern show, that's apparently the rank that he had at one time. And I remember when Howard Stern had his TV show, they actually had Carver on there, and he wore his clan robe on there. Like, wow, okay. And so, anyway, all these different things, you know, Mark Furman, he's like 70 years old now, but they tried to condemn him. They said, oh, we caught you red-handed. Did you ever say, I am the dragon, I am the hood? He goes, yeah, I was reading a script from a play. And the people go, why is he? Rah, rah, rah. No. How many actors and actresses have we seen over the decades that portrayed characters? And because the way the writer wrote it, these were the lines you needed to say. And so, okay, you're an actor, you're an actress. That's your job, to portray characters. And these were the lines you were given. You said the lines. And now all of a sudden they want to condemn you because you said a word, you said a phrase. I was paid to say that. That was part of the job. And that's the thing, that one of the things the crybaby woke cancel culture, woke culture, pacifier culture can't get through their head. And so all these different scenarios that Jericho was talking about, and it reminded me of a situation, and I had talked about it on a previous video. Back in the 90s, a legendary comedian, Arsenio Hall, had a late night show, and he had all kinds of, you know, guests that would come in through and all this. And he, just like a lot of these shows, some interview regular everyday people, some interview celebrities, actors, actresses, politicians, and this kind of thing. And anyway, Arsenio Hall he had just got done with one segment, getting ready to go on to the next segment. And anyway, these two knuckleheads in the back started rudely interrupting his show. He's got to keep things moving. He's got guests he has to interview. He has an audience he needs to entertain. And the people that, sign his paycheck, these guys, he's got to meet their approval. Sponsors, everybody's got to be approved. Everybody's got to be approving on this. Keep the show going, make it entertaining. Well, these two meatheads up there decided they wanted to rudely interrupt Mr. Hall's show. Who were these two meatheads? From some group that calls themselves Queer Nation. The guy was wearing a shirt, kind of looked like Daddy Bonaducci, except it wasn't him. The guy had letters about this tall on his shirt, said Queer Nation right across there. And I've gotten into it, people over, on the YouTube and whatnot over the years, and other social media say, don't use the word queer, that's offensive. Don't tell me, tell them. These guys, that's the name of their club, is Queer Nation. And so these guys started yelling at Mr. Hall about how come he never had any gay guests on his show. He's like, what? And he addressed the problem. He didn't cut to a commercial, he addressed it. And he was trying to be polite. Mr. Hall was doing his best to be professional, but these clowns just kept getting more and more irritable. They kept antagonizing, instigating, and finally Mr. Hall went off on them. Because people like Mr. Hall, his sponsors, his producers, it's like, hey, they care about the quality of the entertainment, the kind of entertainment is the audience happy, is the sponsors happy, is everybody happy, the kind of entertainment and good, good stuff. All these two clowns care about is, does the guest like it up the ass? That's all they care about. I'm having a hard time speaking right now. I'm getting over some junk. But these two clowns that interrupted the show, all they care about is, does the guest like it up the ass? Like, that's really a cause. Whether, it doesn't matter, any good things they have done in life. Were they a hero? Were they a Medal of Honor recipient? Were they a first responder that saved lives? Do they run a homeless shelter? Do they run a shelter for misplaced, dispersed peoples? Do they run an animal rescue center? Do they out here doing good things for society? No, those guys don't care anything about that. All they care about is, does the guest like it up the ass? Mr. Hall finally lost it. He came unglued, and he told these clowns off. Way to go, Mr. Hall. I like that. But, this whole thing of Jericho Green, when he did this video here several hours ago, it just kind of reminded me of this different stuff that I've seen. The woke crybaby cancel culture going, decades back, finding a clip. You said a word, you said a phrase, or it might be somebody told an off-color joke and you laughed at it. We all have our own circles, no matter what category you come from. We all have our own circles where people tell, off-color jokes, whatever. It's no big deal, except to the crybaby pacifier culture. They're the only ones that seem to give a rat's ass about it. They talk about, oh, we care so much. No, the only thing they care about is whose life can they destroy tomorrow? Whose life can they destroy today? All over something you said. You look at today's headlines in the news feed. Some guy chopped up his girlfriend because she said something or whatever that was offensive to his masculinity. So he killed her and cut her up. Does the crybaby culture care about that? Nah. They could care less about that. So many of these horrible, horrible atrocities going on. Only if somebody is a certain skin tone do they care about it? I'll talk to you later, friends.